Ravens are poised to have the best season of their young program. It's the fourth year of football in Ringe, so they're an older team now, and their coach says they can be much better this season. The Ravens have players who have been there from the beginning, building the program, and are ready for some success.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Team Takeover interviews. My name is Ross, aka Takeover Sports, and today I am joined by the defensive back coach at Franklin Pierce University, Coach Jack Louisdort. Coach Louisdort, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Appreciate you, Ross, for inviting me to come on here. So, looking forward to having a great moment with your fellowship in here.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you hopping on. I know you were telling me before, times are kind of slowing down, and camp season's kind of finishing up, and it's almost full season, springtime. So, it's all hands on deck trying to get ready for the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with us, we're a Division II program. And if you know anything about Division II athletics, you're always going to have smaller staffs typically than, some of your FCS and FBS staffs. So for us, we're a smaller staff. So really all hands on deck means all hands on deck. I mean, our defensive coordinator overlooks, our equipment. I overlook our video and our social media. Our offensive coordinator overlooks, academics, community service. So everybody on our staff, might have 2-3 roles that have nothing to do with, blowing the whistle and being on the grass. So, for us at Franklin Pierce, all hands on deck, truly, we live up to that meaning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, look, before we kind of dive into where you are now and kind of that rise to, that DB position, I do kind of want to take a step back and kind of look at your background and see where you kind of got here. The first thing I noticed is that you're from Florida, but you played college football in Canada. So if you kind of break down the cultural difference and like how that move was for you, I feel like I'd be kind of interested to listen about.
No, for sure, man. So, I mean, my background is very interesting, to be honest with you. So a lot of people don't know this, but I was actually born in Canada, but I was raised in Florida. So like, during my toddler years, I mean, I have no recollection of even living there, but I'm really a Florida boy through and through, South Florida. We bounced all over the place in South Florida between, Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, on the West Coast in Naples, Florida, where my mother and my sister still live right now. So the reality of it is I spent a lot of my time there during my elementary, middle years, and high school years. It's not until I started wrapping up high school and I realized, like, shoot, like I'm really not going to make it. And, in terms of being academically eligible to accept a scholarship. So at that point, I took a gap year in 2013 because I'm class of 2012. I took a gap year in 2013. And then in 2014, sorry, that's not true. I took a gap year in 14. So in 2013, right after high school, I went to job prep, which is in, Matthews, North Carolina. I played for Ryan Williams, who's actually now at Myrtle Beach prep. So, any kids that might be watching this, you're looking for a prep school, Ryan Williams, Myrtle Beach prep. Great man. So I did that in 2013. I had a ball. I was with some really good ball players, to be honest with you. I think we had 3 guys off that prep team that ended up going to the NFL. You had Roger Lewis, who was, a kid who was committed to Ohio State back in the, early 2010s. You had Corey Cooper, who was supposed to go, I think, to ECU. And then you had Jermaine Ponder, who was with the Browns for a little bit. So there was a lot of good players on that team. 2013, I do that in Matthews, North Carolina. And improved my GPA, but I'm short of credit. I don't have all the core classes done. So at that moment in time, there was a few schools that were interested in me, from Bemidji State, Tuskegee, Cheyney University. And at that point, I couldn't take any of those offers. So what ended up happening was I ended up talking to, some of the people that I knew. And somebody had just connected me with one of the coaching staffs in Canada. Okay. And this was in Montreal, Canada at that time. And I ended up signing in 2015 to go to Concordia University. And then from pretty much 2015 to all the way to 2021, I lived in Canada. And I spent 2 years at Concordia University in Montreal. And then I ended up going out to the West Coast University of Regina in Saskatchewan. That's the same school as John Ryan, Akeem Hicks. There's been plenty of, there's been a myriad of NFL players to, leave that program and then, go to the next level. And that doesn't even include the Canadian Football League. But, I ended up being there. And then I wrapped up, with my bachelor's degree. And at that moment in time, honestly, I didn't think I was going to get into coaching. And then a gentleman by the name of Stefanovic, he essentially oversees a version of AAU football, right? A travel football league that goes down to Texas every January to play in the tournament.
Right.
And I had an opportunity to hop in there because he gave me that opportunity. To be honest with you, kind of took me back because here I am thinking I'm gonna be working with the high school kids, the 16, 17-year-olds, and he looks at me and says,
Yeah.
"Yeah, man, like I'm gonna have you with the 11, 12-year-olds." I'm like, "What?" You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna lie to you. Like the
Right.
initial conversation that led to, "Yeah, you're gonna be with the 11, 12-year-olds." I was like, "Hey, man, like this might not be for me." And next thing you
Hmm.
know, I was coaching my butt off, and I fell in love with it. And it's crazy because those same kids that I coached back in 2019, when I did
Hmm.
that, literally just graduated high school.
Oh, wow.
And it's just kind of crazy because when I did my internship with the CFL last year, I got a chance to see those kids as high school seniors, and it was just mind blowing. So, it's been a long journey for sure, but I ended up finishing my bachelor's degree, got an opportunity to become a graduate assistant at Augustana University in July of 2021. I spent that
Hmm.
entire fall with the program. And then from that moment, I got a chance to connect with Tremaine Jackson, who's at Valdosta State right now, with the Blazers. Connected with him, got the opportunity to be his defensive backs GA in 2022. To be frank with you, that's probably the most impactful stop in my 4 years of the college level that I've had. And
Hmm.
then I got the opportunity to be at Franklin Pierce as their full-time defensive backs coach in January of 2023, and that's where I've been since then, man. So it's been a very different journey because oftentimes when you try to talk to older coaches about their path, one thing
Right.
that you learn really quickly is that it's not linear. You know what I mean? It's not a
Hmm.
straight line. There's a lot of curves and bumps, but it's even more different when you start talking and I start sharing my experiences and I say, yeah, I played my college ball in Canada. It's a little different if you're able to say, I played Division III at Mount Union. I played Division II at Grand Valley State. I played FCS at Florida A&M. Because what happens in the
Hmm.
coaching community is you at least have alums that can help connect you with other folks. So when I first got
Right.
into the profession, there wasn't really much to help me connect with coaches. And if you know anything about the coach profession, I mean, people, they stay tight.
It's all
You know what I'm
about
saying?
connections.
So
Yeah.
exactly. So for me, it was, it was definitely, a little rough in the beginning because I just didn't know nobody. But anybody who knows me is, I'm gonna talk to people. I'm gonna talk to people, and then you're gonna get to know me. Then if we vibe, we vibe. But one thing I'm definitely not gonna do is be shy and not at least make an attempt to approach people. And I think that's really what I've done, probably the best job
Hmm.
of, thus far in my short time in the college realm, because I've been doing this for 6 seasons now, and 4 years in college, 2 years in high school, and I think that's really what's helped me advance my career as much as I've advanced it thus far. It's the fact that, hey, I may not know who this joker is, but I know somebody that might have played with him. I know somebody that might have coached with him. So I'll just walk up to you, we'll start talking, and we'll see where that goes, man. But that's really just the approach I've had since being in the profession.
Hmm. Absolutely, man. I was going to say you smashed the background. I mean, hey, you got that out the way. I appreciate that. You killed that.
Yeah.
Also, I did notice, I did see something online that you were kind of highlighted as a rising coach to kind of look out for and kind of take a look at. Kind of how did that feel to get that recognition? Again, you're only 6 years in, so I mean, you're still
Yeah.
scratching the surface on what you can really do as a
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah, to be honest, man, I mean, it is very humbling because, anytime that you get to be mentioned with some of your peers, or
Hmm.
people that you look up to, you know what I mean? So I'll kind of give you
Right.
this background for me. Like when that came about where I was announced, and then I
Hmm.
got a chance to really look through some of the people that were on this list, and not just at the Division II level, because I saw who was on the list at the FBS level and at the FCS level.
Yeah.
And again, two of the people that I try to model myself after in this profession
Hmm.
were named to that list, with Coach Jackson and Coach Early. You know what I mean? So for
Yeah.
me, when I saw that, it's very humbling to even be in that same conversation because those are two
Hmm.
guys that I try to model myself after now having worked with them for a full year and then now being out on my own for the last two. So it's truly humbling to be put in that position to even be mentioned with them. And then again, like I got a chance to see some of the other coaches that were named. There was a lot of coordinators, man, a lot of coordinators, a lot of head coaches. So it kind of tells me that whatever I'm doing, I'm on the right track. I'm on the right path. However, it's not a signal that I've arrived anywhere. You know what I mean? It's not
Right.
a signal that I've arrived anywhere. But it is
Hmm.
something that kind of reminds me that, hey, bro, you on the right track. You got to just go harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I had some friends that were named to that list as well. And, we called each other, we talk, and it's like, hey, bro, like, this is the tip of the iceberg. This can't be the iceberg. It's got to be the tip. And then now we just
Hmm.
gotta run with it. You know what I mean? So it's an opportunity to keep building the resume, and it's an
Yeah.
opportunity to hopefully be able to shine a little bit more light on maybe our program at Franklin Pierce University. Because the one thing my head coach, Russell Gaskamp, has done a good job of is having good young assistant coaches. You know what I mean? He's always had
Absolutely.
good young assistant coaches. He's always done a good job of hiring good young assistant coaches. And I think,
Hmm.
again, if we kind of look back at that list, it highlights that, I mean, that my head coach knows how to find good young coaches, and that,
Yeah.
I'm on the right track right now. So
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, for me personally, I want to say stay on that track, man. You're doing a great job. And
appreciate
tip
you.
of the cap to you. Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Well, we got most of the background out the way, so I guess we can kind of dive into the team and kind of
For
dive
sure.
into that DB room. So I
Hmm.
did look last year. You guys went 4-6, which
Hmm.
I mean, kind of is what it is. It's a building block step. You guys have that next step you guys want to go to. If you
Hmm.
can kind of talk to everybody about what that next step is, it could be either win the conference, win I don't know how D2 does it, but win the state title, whatever you guys want to do,
Hmm.
just kind of throw it out there.
So what's really nice about D2 that is very different from FBS football, or
Hmm.
was different because FBS football is moving to a playoff format. Division two has a
Yeah.
full national playoff format. We got 4 different regions, right? So
Okay.
you got region one, region two, region three, region four, which ranges all the way from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. We're part of region one.
Okay.
And one team from our conference made it to the playoffs last year and lost in the first round. Big thing for
Mm.
us right now is we're going to the fifth year of the actual football program. We started this program in 2019. My head coach and our defense coordinator. 2019, they
Okay.
rolled out there with a bunch of 18 to 19-year-olds because there really wasn't a thing called transfer portal at that time, right? So
Yeah.
they rolled out there with a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds and maybe a couple, JUCO transfers, and they got their butts beat. So the reality of it
Hmm.
is we're going to year 5. They've built this program every year, 1-10,
Right.
0-10, 2-8, and 4-6. What really stung us about last year was you lose 5 or 6 games within one possession, and you lose
Hmm.
them in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? And I'm talking
Yeah.
about under 3 minutes in the fourth quarter. Now, the reality of it is don't never give 2 craps about that. You know what I mean? So the reality
Right.
of it is you got to finish games. So for us, the mindset right now is we need to go get the conference. There's no reason
Hmm.
why we can't, right? We need to go get the conference.
Yeah.
We feel very comfortable with the idea of we should easily be at least at 7 to 8 wins this year. Like that's the expectation. Like as a staff, we kind of look at it that way, and that's
Hmm.
really the bottom, right? That's the bottom. That's not the ceiling for us. So
Right.
that is what this offseason has been about. How do we close the gap? What do we need to do from our
Hmm.
perspective? How can we help the kids get over that hump of beating our in-state rival? How do we
Hmm.
get across to beating some of the best teams in the conference? Because right, the same teams that were top 15 ranked last year, whoever you're playing, until the final 2 minutes, and we lose the game on the last drive, in the last minute of the game. So it's about finishing games
Hmm.
this year, and the focus is really set on what do we need to do as a staff to kind of get the
Right.
kids to finish the job. And really, I think, our head coach hasn't come up with our theme for this year, but if there's anything that I think would be appropriate for us would be finish, finish,
Hmm.
finish, finish, finish. I mean, I know coaches say it all the time, but you got to find a way to finish, man. You got to find a way to finish.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of kind of those goals and finishing, I do kind of want to zoom in a little bit on the DB room because the DB room had an
Hmm.
improvement last year from opposed to where it was in
Hmm.
2022. Going
Hmm.
from 216 passing yards a game to 182, completion percentage went down
Hmm.
8%. What's that next goal for your room specifically? Is it create more turnovers? Is it to even mitigate the passing game even more than what it is now?
Hmm.
Or what are you kind of thinking?
I think it's all those things that you just mentioned. I mean, when I went into the room January of 23, I looked at them
Hmm.
and I said, listen, this is who you are right now. This is your body of work. 'Cause I tell them guys all the time, like, you are what you put on tape. This is your body
Yeah.
of work. So you guys
Hmm.
are 216 yards per game. You guys are 23 touchdowns. You guys are 58% completion. Like, that's who you are.
Right.
So how do we change this? We change
Hmm.
it just through sweat equity. That's literally the only way you change it. Sweat equity. You need to pay
Absolutely.
rent every day. And honestly, it was about grinding them and getting them to understand like this is a grind, right? Like
Hmm.
this is not a club team. This is a grind. So it started off with that, instilling that value for hard work, and that helping them understand that there's just no easy way out. Like there ain't no easy way out, bro. You're gonna do this my way, or you're just not gonna do it. And
Exactly.
once they honestly, it was a buy-in, right? Like they had to buy into me. So once they bought
Hmm.
into me and saw that I was genuine about helping them get to where they wanted to be, the rest was kind of easy, man. Because the reality of it was, I told them, like, listen, man, I'm gonna be in this office till about 9, 10 o'clock. Anyway, trying to figure out how I'm gonna get y'all right. In the
Exactly.
meantime, you might as well just circle back with me, just do what you need to do so you can go go close the gap because I can't play on
Hmm.
Saturday. I can tell you the
Right.
answers to the test, but I can't write your name on the paper. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
for me, it really started off with that. But I think as I look at 2024, what's the next step for us? I mean, I told them guys, we got to finish #1 in the conference for all major passing stats, right?
Hmm.
So we finished at 182 last year. The goal was actually 175 or better, you know?
Oh,
So
okay.
we finished at 182, but we didn't hit the goal of 175. So we need to go back and hit below 175. I'm not going to put the goal at 165 if we didn't hit 175. So
Right.
we got to go hit 175. Last year, I
Hmm.
believe we gave up 13 or 14 passing touchdowns. We got to get below 10. Last year, we had the same amount of interceptions, but the reality of it is, I ain't gonna lie to you, we dropped at least six. We dropped
Mm.
at least six. So I'm like,
Mhm.
fellas, like six, you know what I mean? Like that puts you in the top 15 nationally for interceptions. You know what I mean? So that's
Right.
another thing, right? And what I tell
Hmm.
my guys all the time is because I got guys that are like, Coach, man, they ain't throwing it my way. I'm like, for one, that's respect, okay? But for
Exactly.
two, don't talk to me about the ball ain't being thrown your way, but they running the ball your way. Like you can't strip the ball. So I try to get these guys out there out the mindset of, well, the ball got to be thrown to me for me to go make a play. You know what I mean? So now the emphasis of this season is takeaways. It's not interceptions, it's takeaways, right? So like I
Okay.
spent this entire spring drilling strip ball drills, right? And
Hmm.
coincidentally enough, and matter of fact, not coincidentally, because you gonna achieve what you emphasize. So the reality of it was this spring I emphasized stripping the ball, and we go into our spring game versus our in-state rival. We stripped the ball twice. You know what I mean? We had 2 interceptions and stripped the ball twice. So right now it's
There you
about
go.
the mentality of creating those takeaways, right? Like the offense won't just give you the
Hmm.
ball. You got to create those takeaways. So for us, again, we need to create more takeaways to give the offense out of a shorter field of more possessions. And then
Hmm.
lastly, we hit 50% this year. We got to get below, 50. We got to get below
Yeah.
50% completion because that was the thing that I did have to take into consideration last year. I was like, okay, well, we didn't get more interceptions, but that completion percentage dropped a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like we're talking
8% is
about,
huge.
you know what I mean? We're talking about 1 and 2 passes were caught.
Right.
One and 2 passes were caught. So it's just like 50% is not a bad number, but we got to get that below 50 because again, I think if we put all of that together and if we can
Hmm.
achieve that on the back end, it just simplifies the job up front for those guys. And then again, like I said, we're creating more possessions for the offense and we're creating shorter
Hmm.
fields for the offense, right? Because I'm not
Right.
I'm not in the business of being concerned on what's going on with the offense. I'm in the business of giving them guys the ball as many times as possible. Because for another team
Hmm.
to beat us, they give their offense the ball more than us. That's really all it is. So
Exactly.
the mentality
Yeah.
isn't we're not really competing against the offense. It's really we're competing against the other defense because the other defense give it to the offense 3 times. We got to give it to ours 4.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the mentality I'm trying to create with them guys. Because oftentimes like, oh man, offense got a field goal again. Well, bro, why ain't you strip that ball and go for 6? You so
Exactly.
mad at you so pressed for points, but you ain't strip the ball and go for 6. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's about really trying to cultivate that mindset of it's on us and we need to go
Hmm.
do something with it. So it's about changing the mindset of how can we go create more plays for ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I also did look, I was going to say, you do have a fairly young DB room. So being able to
Yeah.
implement your thought process and then your ideals and things like that into them is really going to help them out in the future.
hmm
With that young DB class, though, you do lose 5 guys. Well, no, you lose what? 2?
I
And
lost
then you
three. I
have,
lost three. I lost three. Yeah.
okay, there we
I
go.
lost both corners. I lost both corners in the first team all conference safety.
Yeah, I was going to say, you did lose the first team all conference safety.
hmm
Kind of replacing those guys, you do have a lot of sophomores coming in. How is that going to be for you without some of those leaders and some of that experience coming in?
So I mean, really the bulk. So I'll tell you this, man. There's no two ways to, kind of sugarcoat it, man. The reality of it is going to be I'm going to have at least 2 freshmen
Hmm.
starting for me at the very least, and maybe a
Yeah,
sophomore. Like we're gonna be young.
yeah.
What I'm really fortunate about is the pups that I'm bringing in are either gonna be physically ready to play, and I just gotta catch them up on the mental part,
Hmm.
or the guys are gonna be playing a lot for us this fall. Were thankfully with us during spring ball, and they're gonna be here during summer workouts starting next week.
Right.
So once that all kind of comes together, it's gonna be, hey, we got to understand that this is going to be down on us. Like I always told them boys,
Hmm.
you play well, we got a shot. You play bad,
Yeah.
we ain't got a shot in the dark. So
Hmm.
for the guys that I have from the spring, they already know what it is. The culture's already set, right? Like we're 10 minutes early to everything. There's no, there's
Right.
no, there's no excuse, right?
Right.
I've created this culture of accountability where it's like, if y'all don't get on each other, I'm gonna get on you, and once I get on you, everybody getting punished. And they
Hmm.
starting to get to the point like, hey man, you ain't finna have Coach Jack on us. So you don't show up on time, we're gonna be on you. And that's really what
Right.
it is. Because honestly, I'd rather pit them against me than pit them against each other.
Mm.
And I'll be the bad guy any day of the week. So that's what I really
Yeah.
tell them. I'm just like, hey fellas, listen, understand this real quick. Another joker show up late to this meeting, all y'all just gonna plank.
Hmm.
All y'all just gonna plank. And now it's gotten to the point where they checking on each other like, hey bro, it's 12 minutes before the meeting, but you ain't here yet. What's up?
Right.
Because I don't do the whole walk in on that 10th minute.
Right.
So they start policing each other. So that's kind of like the start of it before you even talk ball. Because if they
Hmm.
cannot hold each other accountable off the field, they're not going to do it on the field. A joker who ain't watching
Exactly.
film, they're not going to say nothing to him. You know what I mean? So it's really about setting that culture in. So the guys that I have from the spring, they're set in that culture. So what's
Hmm.
going to happen is when we got guys coming in the summertime, I've now put the responsibility on those guys who are with me in the spring. You better bring these guys along the right way,
Hmm.
or I'm gonna bring them along with you.
There
And they're
you
like, no,
go.
we got it. No, we got it, bro. We got it, coach. We cool. We cool. So that's really like the idea that I've kind of set with the foundation that was built in January of 2023. But the reality
Okay.
of it is, I'll tell you this, man. I think we're going to be way more athletic than what we have been since we've been at this program. Um,
Hmm.
More than anything, though, I'm really excited to see some of those guys that we have at the corner and safety position coming in. I got this big, tall, lanky joker from Tampa that we signed. We got another kid
Hmm.
from, Connecticut, tall kid that can play out of the corner of safety. I got a kid from the Bronx, really good safety that can double as a corner. We
Yeah.
just got some really athletic kids, man. The kid that impressed me the most from the spring was a kid we got out of a prep school. I mean, probably one of the best athletes I've been around in my short time in Division II football. Like we got some really good athletes, and you know anything about the defensive back position, if you got a good athlete and you can get his football IQ up a little bit, you're gonna have a
Oh, he's gonna be
shot. So
good.
while we might be a little young, but I'm really gonna take the brunt of the responsibility, obviously, to get them mentally ready to go. But physically, we're gonna be physically ready to go because we're gonna teach the fundamentals and we're gonna have them guys, playing the way they need to so we can go compete and play at a
Hmm.
high level this fall.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was gonna say it sounds like the key word there was 2 keywords: responsibility and compete. Because I was gonna bring up the
hmm
6 DBs that you guys did sign for signing day, but it does sound like they're all gonna come in ready to compete, ready to take some of that responsibility, and kind of just let the chips fall where they may about who plays in the fall. So
100%. I mean, that's. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna take straight up. When I was recruiting these guys and I was talking to these guys, I said, "Listen, there's gonna be an opportunity to play early, but
yeah.
there's no shot if you don't come in the summer." So I mean, them,
Hmm.
and I told them guys straight up, like, and enjoy. May, June, as a high school senior, but come July, you're a college football player. We ain't doing the whole show up
Yep.
August 15th and you think you're gonna start from like that's not happening. That's not
Yep.
happening. So I mean it was a clear conversation and everybody was on board with it, and that's how I knew we had the right kid signed. There wasn't no, oh well, coach, I got this vacation coming up with my mama. They're like, oh no, say less, coach. I'm trying to start as a true freshman. So mentally, I know on the mental side, I got the right guys coming in, and like you said, man, it's gonna be dog eat dog. And I tell these guys all the time, I'm gonna win no matter what because I'm gonna have a ball of starting. It don't matter to me who plays.
There you go. There you go. Well, look, man, I really do enjoy this. A couple more questions before I get you on out of here, man. Enjoy your June 19th. So first thing I do want to ask is, it's summer. There's some players that are still looking to get signed. They can even be class 2025, even class 2026, because now those are open to talk to. What's some advice that you'll kind of give those kids during this summer month before the season starts? What would you kind of tell them in order to get seen and get a little bit more exposure on them?
Class of 25. Here's my advice for you if you're a class of 25 kid. Okay, you need to go to these camps with a plan. What is your plan? Okay, that's first. Second, when you go to these camps, you have to be somebody that they say something to once. When I say once, I mean they're gonna tell you once. And when I say they're telling you once, you could be all the way at the back of the line. If the coach is saying it to the guy at the front of the line, he's talking to you too. Don't come up there and mess up that drill. Don't be a drill buster. So make sure that your listening ears are on, because the last thing I want to see as a coach is a kid who just messed up the drill that I just got done talking about. Right? So and I saw that happen plenty of times this summer. So the first thing is be prepared to be somebody who's engaged in what's going on. Right? Be engaged. Go out there and compete. Whether you lose a rep or not, finish the rep. Finish the rep. Whether you lose it or not, finish the rep. The next thing is, once the camp is done, man, like you got to walk up to somebody and introduce yourself, right? And then ask those coaches what they're looking for. Ask those coaches what they're looking for. But here's the next thing, right? Some of you guys are going to go to big camps, which is fine, right? You want to go to Ohio State, that's fine. Go to Ohio State. But if you're a 5'8", 162-pound corner who runs a 4.7, right? Don't only go to Ohio State, man. Go to University of Findlay. Right? Go check out what they got going on. Maybe go to Youngstown State as well. Check out what they got going on. Because what's the likelihood that you're a class of 25 kid and Ohio State did not know about you and you a ball? Exactly. What are the chances? Like, the chances are very slim. I'm not saying it's impossible, but the chances are very slim. Because you got to think about it. Power 5 and Group of 5 schools are usually recruiting 2 years ahead.
I was going to say, yeah.
So what's really the chance? What's really the chance that the scouting department at the Ohio State University missed you completely? Right. It's not that big of a chance. So, yeah, go see the Buckeyes, but go see somebody else as well that has guys that look like you on their roster, right? So you got to find schools that fit you, because while you're driving around, going to Ohio State, going to Cincy, going to the Bobcats, you're going to all these big Group of 5, Power 5 schools, you don't ignore Mount Union. That's need-based, right? They got need-based scholarships. You don't know if you could go there for free and possibly win a national championship at the Division III level. You know what I'm saying? So the big thing is going to be find schools that fit you. Because if you don't find a school that fits you, that's how you're on the outside looking in. For the majority of 2025 kids, there's going to be a school that fits you. But you have to find who likes you, man. You can't pull up to prom night trying to talk to everybody because they're cute. You gotta talk to who talk to you. Like you gotta dance with who says yes, bro. You can't just be grabbing people's wrists and talking about, hey, come here. No, bro. Right. You gotta dance with who wants to dance with you at the end of the day. And that's the thing that I'm gonna tell you if you're 25 and you're 26. Now, if you're 26, you gotta go hard right now. You gotta go hard. This is when they can find you. Like, this is when the guys that are hidden gems get found. The 26s, late in their junior years when they get found. So the big thing is make sure you're ready to go into your season and go win a starting job and go perform at a high level. Once that season is done, have a professional highlight tape. No music. Highlight yourself pre-snap. Okay? Make sure you highlight yourself pre-snap. Don't put no music on there. Okay? You don't need to put no slow motion. We don't need no slow motion. We got huddle. Trust me, we got remotes. We can slow it down if we need to. And then as soon as that January time come around, go find you a second sport to play. I'm a big I'm a big skill players, track, bigs, wrestling. Okay? Like that, those are my two, right? If not, throw some basketball in there, throw some baseball in there, depending on, again, if you're a big or a skill. Because ain't nothing like a DB or a receiver playing outfielder in baseball. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Ain't nothing like a big who's playing a 4 or a 5 on the basketball team. You know what I'm saying? So go find a second sport during that spring, and then boom, once that springtime come around, go to college campuses and go try to watch a spring practice, man. If you think you Power 5, going into your senior year, go to a spring practice and go watch them boys at Florida State. Go watch them at Georgia. Go watch them at Ohio State. Go watch what they look like at the Power 5 and Group of 5 level and have a true, honest conversation with yourself. Can I go play with that guy? And the answer might be yes, and the answer might be no, but either one is okay. It's about keeping it real with yourself so that when the camp season comes, right? Because let's do this, right? Let's say a junior going into a senior year does go visit a couple schools and check out spring practice. And when that spring season comes and now it's time to go to camps, maybe he just got done doing Ohio State the previous year, but now he ain't going to do Ohio State. Maybe he's going to do a Findlay. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's going to do a Youngstown State. You know what I mean? Like maybe he's going to go down to FAMU and Bethune-Cookman's camp rather than going to Florida State's camp because he knows I'm probably a better fit for those schools. You know what I mean? Because he went to Florida State spring practice, seen the corners that they had, all 6'2", 6'3", 198 pounds, and he 5'9", 170. So it's about realizing who you are because at the end of the day, this game is very simple. You got to get in where you fit in. You got to get in where you fit in. So that's my advice to 25s and 26s. 25s, the time is here. 26s, this time needs to be spent doing the research and the work. The research and the work is going to get you the signing day for 2026. But if you don't do the research, and even if you do the work, you're going to wind up chasing PWOs. And there's nothing wrong with PWOs. The majority of kids want scholarships, though. The majority of kids want scholarships. Nobody goes on Twitter and says, hey, coaches are sleeping on me. Send me a PWO. They be on there talking about, hey, send me an O. They be talking about send me an O. They don't be talking about no PWO. So obviously the majority of kids want to get full rides or close to full rides. So if that's what you really want, you got to be able to go find the information so you can go make a sound decision on where you're going to camp at, who you're going to be trying to reach out to, and how you're going to attack this thing. But at the end of the day, you got to be your own marketer, man. Like the kids that constantly post on Twitter, right? Like everything that you're doing that's athletic, man, your Twitter needs to be a professional website. Website. I need to be able to find you real quick. And here's what I'll tell you, man. If I got any advice for real, fellas, if you can go ahead and go on Google and attach your transcript on some kind of document on Google and put that link in your bio, and your transcripts are readily available, and then let's just say you create an Excel document, right? That Excel document has a link to your transcript, a link to your film, and then a link to a workout. I'm telling you right now, you put that in your bio. Now I got film, transcript, everything ready to go. I'm going to tell you right now, the kids that make my job the easiest are the first ones I want to slide in their DMs and be like, hey, shoot me your number. I got to hop on the phone with you. Because there's nothing like information being ready. When information is ready, it tells me that you about your business. You about your business. Yeah. So for me, when I see that, I'm just like, okay, that's somebody that is serious about playing college football. Serious about college football. Because that's somebody who's seeking an opportunity actively and is in charge of their own destiny. He really want to be doing this thing. So I think more than anything, if you can kind of put yourself in that position where your information is readily available, right? And fellas, if you know your GPA ain't good, man, don't. I'm not gonna tell you don't slide in no DMs, but just understand what school you're at least talking to. If I'm a state school, you might have a shot, but don't slide in my DMs if I'm a private academic institution.
Exactly.
Right? Like at Franklin Pierce University, we're a private school. The lowest I can take a kid on is probably 2.7, because anything lower than that, he ain't gonna get much academic money. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta know what schools DMs you're sliding into, man. You can't slide into Georgetown's DMs talking about 2.4. You know what I mean? Like you gotta get in where you fit in. So do the research on the schools before you start sliding in DMs, fellas. Like I'm all for it, obviously, because you gotta be able to get some attention and contact people. So I'm good with it. You know, I'm one of them coaches that I leave my DMs open. You know what I mean? I leave my DMs open. I'm not trying to keep kids out of my DMs, because at the end of the day, the job is to go find the best player that you can. But please
Right.
know what school you're reaching out to, because some of these schools are high academic schools. They're not state schools that can take kids with 2.4, 2.5. Like, you gotta, like, not only you have to have the core credits with us, you also got to have the GPA to back it up, because our institution prides itself on being an academic school. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
just know whose DMs you're sliding into. So that way, at the very least, when you slide in my DMs and you say, I got 2.5, if I'm a state school, I might not be too pressed about that. But if I'm at
Right.
if I'm at a private school, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, like, there's kids sometimes that, hey coach, I got 2.3 right now, it's my senior year, but I'm finna take these summer classes, I'm finna go hard in the class from this fall, and I'm gonna get a 2.9 for one. That ain't gonna happen. You ain't getting no 2.9 from 2.3. One
Yeah, no,
semester,
that's
you ain't getting
insane.
that. You ain't getting that, you know. But the second thing is, just at the very least, know who you're talking to, because some of these schools, they give a lot of money for academics, so you got to make sure that you're matched up. This is, again, about getting in where you fit in. 5'8", 175,
Mm-hmm.
you probably ain't going to Georgia, son. You know what I mean? But
Right.
2.3, you're probably not getting into, Harvard and Yale, obviously, with those kind of grades. So you got to just know
Yeah.
who you're talking to and what matches you best. You know what I mean? So that's my advice for you
Absolutely.
25 to 6ers that are looking for, an opportunity at the next level in these coming months and years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate you dropping that blueprint on everybody. That way they kind of know everything they need to
Mm-hmm.
do, and then making sure they got everything situated and done there. Last question before I get you on out of here. You can enjoy your day. Anybody that's kind of done playing but kind of wants to get into coaching, do you have any advice for them as well?
Yeah, to be honest with you, if you are done playing, right? Let's say you play college ball, the first person you want to hit up are the guys that you played for. First person you need to hit up for guys that you played for, right? But let's just say,
Okay.
example, you played small college football, Division III, NAIA level, and your staff is no longer coaching. Let's just say that.
Right.
Reach out to your high school head coach, man. Hey, coach, do you know anybody that I could get in contact with? Okay, that'd be the first step. Second step, let's just say those aren't available options or viable options for you. Okay. The next thing I would do, I'd start showing up to spring practices, man. Start showing up to spring practices. And don't go into spring practices talking about, hey, I'm looking for a job. No. Go to spring practice saying, I just want to be a fly on the wall. I'm going to come in, my mouth going to be shut. I'm going to have a notebook and a pen. That's it.
Okay.
Show your face. Show your face. Be consistent with it. And I'm telling you, if you go this route, this ain't something that's going to get you something in a 6 to 12 month period. This is a TBD, to be determined.
Right.
TBD. So you show up every day, and now, right, like, next thing you know, hey, I've seen Ratty come around here a couple of times. Okay, what's he got going on? Okay, well, now you start building a relationship, because this thing's about relationships, man. This thing is about relationships. Just the other day, somebody was asking me, hey, do you know anybody who'd be interested in a D-line job? And, like, my buddy didn't know anybody, so he reached out to me. So again, it's about the relationships. And again, this is one of my friends in the profession. So I was like, I'm not gonna send him no goofball. Yeah, I mean, nobody's gonna get him fired, or who's gonna make the staff look bad, or who ain't gonna work hard. Because again, this thing's about relationships and your reputation. So I would tell you, show your face around a couple of college campuses, because I think somebody was a great example of that. If you find out about the story of Coach Dillingham over at Arizona State, I mean, that's how he made it as a high school coach in Arizona to being a GA at Arizona State. So, I mean, the story of Coach Dillingham, who's at Arizona State now, is very similar to that, showing up to spring ball very often when Mike Norvell was at Arizona State. So I think that's a great way to do it. I think the last way to get your feet wet into some coaching, man, volunteer. I personally was never in a position to be able to do that, but there's a lot of FCS, Division II, and FBS programs that are looking for volunteers. Free help is always being looked after in college football. So if you have a pretty good job, or you have some savings lined up, where you can confidently volunteer for a full football season, right? When I say full football season, I'm talking about from August all the way to the end of spring ball, right? If you can give yourself a full 10 months volunteering straight like that, do it, man. Like, I was never in a position to do that, but I had some opportunities where people are like, hey, like, I can get you an FCS job volunteering. You know what I mean? I was just never in that position, because I I got into college coaching in my late 20s, where you really want to get into it
Right.
in your early to mid 20s. So you can make no money and have no responsibilities. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
that's kind of the crossroad that I hate when I got into the profession, because there are certain jobs, unfortunately, that I just couldn't take, because I was like, bro, I'm about to be 30. I can't do that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if you're in your early to mid 20s,
Hmm.
volunteer if you have the means to, because I promise you I would have if I got in this profession at 24, 25. I would have volunteered for at least a year, because again, like I said, there was a couple of FCS schools that I was talking to, like, hey, we're looking for a defensive quality control guy, somebody who's going to be really good
Hmm.
with the computer, but also assist us with coaching, different positions on the field. Would you be interested in it?
Absolutely.
Again, at that time, I had to turn that down. So if you have an opportunity to volunteer, you definitely should take it. But
Hmm.
again, if it's one of those things where you got to choose between gas and food, like, it might not be the best situation for you, you know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to see
Exactly.
somebody, you know what I mean, eating once a week type deal. So
Right.
make sure that obviously you got your things taken care of where you can actually go volunteer. But,
Hmm.
and I'll tell you this, I know we had a volunteer coach at one of the stops that I was at, and, he did a amazing job. He was a former high school coach, did an amazing job with us, and now he's a group of 5 GA.
Oh
He's a
wow.
group of 5 graduate assistant. And I'm gonna tell you
Yeah.
this: within a season or two, I wouldn't be surprised if that guy ends up running an offensive line room at a Division 1 level in the next couple of years. But he made that
Yeah.
sacrifice when he joined the staff a couple of years ago to be a volunteer. And I'll be
Hmm.
real with you, nobody even knew he was volunteer until he said it. Because I mean, that man's
Oh.
work ethic and the way he handled business, he handled it as if he was one of
Hmm.
the one of the GAs already on staff. So
Right.
just be aware of that, right? Like, if you are going to volunteer, have a plan. Don't just go into there blind. Have a plan of what you want from it, because oftentimes when people see you volunteer, either they recommend you for positions or they try to promote you from within. So those would be
Okay.
my top 3 advices for in terms of how to get your foot into the door. Because I'm telling you right now, once you get your foot into the door and you do a good job somewhere, right?
Hmm.
The opportunities are endless. The opportunities are
Yeah.
endless, because reputation and relationships. This business is about 2 R's: reputation and relationships. So as long as you take care
Okay.
of those 2 things, you're always gonna have a shot to find the next job, or stay in this profession, I should say.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Well, look, Coach Louisdort, I appreciate you, man. Best of luck this season. I really
Appreciate
appreciate
you.
you hopping on. And yeah, I was gonna say best of luck in everything you do, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ross. You ever need anything, man, you give me a shot, brother.
Absolutely.